The first sound is the hush of evening, the kind that settles like a blanket across a quiet street. Crickets murmur faintly somewhere beyond the fence, and the sky above the Smith house stretches wide and patient. Morty lies on the rooftop, flat on his back, a notebook pressed lightly against his chest. The shingles are still warm from the day's sun. He counts the stars, though he knows there are too many to finish. Each one feels a little closer tonight, as if leaning in to hear him breathe. He started this ritual when he was small, too young to understand the ache that tugged at him each dusk. The stars, he thought, might be listening. Sometimes he whispers numbers as he counts, sometimes secrets. He never expects an answer. But every so often, on nights like this, he imagines he hears a faint reply, not in words, but in the way a light flickers just once before holding steady. It feels like a nod or a sigh. The house beneath him is quiet. His parents have gone to bed early. Somewhere down the block, a dog gives a single bark and falls silent. Morty's pencil rolls off his chest, tapping lightly against the roof before coming to rest by his elbow. He doesn't reach for it. He keeps his eyes open, wide enough to drink the whole sky. He remembers being 5, maybe 6, when he first noticed that stars made different sounds if you listened long enough. Not sounds exactly, more like a heartbeat in the dark. Back then he tried to hum along, matching their hidden rhythm until sleep carried him away. Now he is older, though not by much, and he knows the difference between imagination and truth. Yet tonight the difference feels unimportant. The air smells of cooling grass and distant rain. A soft breeze lifts his hair. He wonders if the stars remember every wish ever made, if they hold them gently like folded paper. A thin cloud drifts across the moon, and with it comes a sensation he cannot name. It is not fear. It is not excitement. It is a quiet pull, like someone calling from far away without making a sound. Morty closes his eyes. For a moment he feels the rooftop fall away, feels himself floating just above the world. There is no weight, only the slow turning of the night. He thinks of his grandfather's voice, sharp and restless, always moving toward some new invention or disaster. Rick would laugh at the idea of stars whispering back. But Morty doesn't need anyone to believe him. This is his secret sky, his private conversation. He breathes in, holds the breath, lets it go. Somewhere deep inside, something answers. A pulse, a warmth, a single note of recognition. The breeze grows cooler. A single drop of dew slides down the slope of the roof and brushes the back of his hand. He opens his eyes again, and the stars seem closer still, like a gathering of gentle witnesses. He feels their patience. He feels their quiet. Morty presses the notebook to his heart. He doesn't write anything. He doesn't need to. Tonight the counting is enough. 1 star, 2, 3, until the numbers blur and the sky becomes a soft, endless lullaby. He stays there until his eyes grow heavy and the first hint of dawn touches the edge of the horizon. Before sleep finally claims him, he whispers a thought he's never spoken aloud, not even to himself. I hope you hear me. Night folds itself around the quiet neighborhood, a velvet hush that makes every shadow feel a little more alive. Morty slips out of his room barefoot, careful not to wake anyone. The hallway creaks softly under his weight, a language of wood and time that he's learned to understand. He carries his notebook under one arm, though he isn't sure why. The stars have already given him their silence. Perhaps the pages want to listen too. Outside the grass is damp and cool, a thin mist rising from the lawn like a sigh. The sky wears the same patient face as the night before, but something in the air hums differently. He can feel it in his fingertips, a low vibration like distant music just beyond hearing. The garage door looms ahead, darker than the rest of the house, a silhouette against the dim glow of streetlights. Rick's workspace is usually locked, but Morty notices the faintest seam of blue light where the door meets the frame. He steps closer. The glow is steady, gentle, almost breathing. When he touches the handle, it's warm, not metal cold as it should be in the midnight air. A soft pulse travels into his palm, and before he can decide whether to turn back, the door eases open on its own with a sigh, like the deep exhale of a sleeping creature. Inside, the garage is both familiar and strange. Tools rest where he's seen them before, but every surface seems to shimmer at the edges as if painted with moonlight. The air smells faintly of rain on stone, though the night outside is dry. He hears a sound like a drop of water echoing in a cavern, though nothing drips. His heart beats slower, not faster, as though the room is encouraging calm. In the far corner stands something new. A frame of silver wood arching toward the ceiling, thin lines of light threading its shape. It's not one of Rick's machines. Morty knows his grandfather's restless inventions by sight, all sharp edges and restless energy. This is different, quiet, deliberate, almost kind. He takes a step closer, and the air shifts, a cool breeze spiraling around him though the windows are shut. The archway hums softly, a note so low it feels more than it sounds. Morty places a hand against the frame. It is warm like sunlit stone, and beneath his fingertips tiny vibrations dance, syncing with his heartbeat. For a breathless moment he senses something beyond it, a space that is not another room, not another world exactly, but a threshold. It smells of far-off rain and fresh soil, the scent of a place he has never been but somehow remembers. He hesitates. The sensible part of him whispers to go back to bed, to let the night remain ordinary. Yet another voice, quieter and older than his years, invites him forward. He closes his eyes. The vibration deepens, and a soft light flows through his skin, as if the doorway is reading him, recognizing him. When he opens his eyes again, the room around him has dimmed to a pale blur. The archway shines brighter, threads of silver unwinding into the air like gentle smoke. He takes a step through. There is no jolt, no sudden wrench of gravity. Only a slow unfolding like stepping into a dream mid-breath. The air beyond is cool and fragrant, carrying the distant murmur of running water. He cannot tell if he is inside or outside, above or below. Shapes drift in soft focus. A path of pale stones, a sky washed in quiet colors he doesn't have names for. Morty turns back once, expecting to see the garage. Instead, he sees only the faint outline of the silver arch, suspended in a dark that feels endless and safe. The house, the street, the familiar world, they are gone, or perhaps only hidden. He stands there, notebook still pressed to his chest, and breathes. The strange music of the place settles around him, neither welcoming nor threatening, simply present. For the first time he feels no need to count anything. Time itself seems to pause, waiting with him. He whispers a single word, unsure if it's for the stars, the doorway, or himself. Hello. A soft twilight drapes the new world. Neither dawn nor dusk, a gentle in-between that seems to last forever. Morty steps carefully along a path of pale stones, their surfaces warm as if they have been holding the memory of sunlight for centuries. The air tastes faintly of wild honey and distant rain. Above him, the sky shimmers with colors he cannot name. Soft violets that melt into silvers, streaks of quiet gold. Everything hums, a music without instruments, and each breath feels like listening. He walks until the stones curve toward a grove of luminous trees. Their trunks glow with a mild light, and their leaves ripple in slow waves as if stirred by an unseen tide. Between the trees a figure waits, neither shadow nor flame, but something in between. Morty stops, heart steady, not afraid. The figure is tall and draped in a robe the color of deep water, and when it moves, the edges of its shape drift like smoke. "Hello," the figure says, voice as soft as falling snow. The sound carries warmth that reaches him before the meaning does. "You took the long path."
"That is good," Morty swallows, unsure what to say.
He has met strangers before, stranger than most, but this presence feels different. Gentle, old. The figure tilts its head slightly, as though listening to a language Morty cannot hear. "You are the boy who counts the stars," it continues. "They have whispered of you." Morty clutches his notebook tighter.
I guess I do that." His voice sounds small but not unwelcome. The figure steps closer, each movement slow and deliberate, like the turning of a page.
Morty notices that the robe is patterned with tiny constellations, shifting and reforming as he watches. The stars on the cloth seem to breathe. "Counting is a way of listening," the stranger says. "Few remember that." They walk together beneath the luminous trees. The figure does not rush, and Morty finds his own steps matching the rhythm without effort. Around them, the forest glows softly, every leaf carrying a low, patient pulse. "Where am I?"
Morty asks at last. "A place between," the figure replies.
"Not a world your grandfather would chart."
"Not a dream you will forget. A threshold."
"You arrived because you were ready to hear what waits in the quiet." Morty lets the words sink in. They do not feel like riddles, though he cannot fully grasp them. "Why me?" "'Cause you listen," the figure answers simply. Most hurry past the silence. You stayed. They reach a small clearing where a single pool of water lies perfectly still, reflecting the strange sky. The figure kneels beside it, motioning for Morty to join. The water glows faintly from within, a mirror to something deeper. Morty leans forward and sees his own face, but it shimmers, shifting through ages, child, teenager, older man, then child again, all layered like transparent film. "Every choice is a ripple," the stranger murmurs. "Every ripple is a story. You do not need to change them."
"You only need to notice." Morty touches the surface with one fingertip.
The reflection trembles, and for an instant he hears a chorus of faint voices, laughter, gentle weeping, the hush of distant oceans.
It is not frightening.
It is like recognizing a melody he has always known. The figure places a hand, cool and light, on his shoulder. "Remember this sound," it says. "It is the heartbeat of all things. When you return, it will guide you, even when you forget." Morty breathes in the scent of the glowing trees, a mix of rain and old wood. He wants to ask more, about the stars, about the path home, but the questions feel less urgent now. The stranger's presence is enough, a quiet assurance that answers will come when they need to. A soft breeze rises, carrying tiny motes of light across the clearing. They drift like sleepy fireflies, circling once before floating upward into the endless twilight. Morty watches until the last spark disappears into the shimmering sky. "Will I see you again?" he asks, voice barely above a whisper. The figure smiles, a curve of light in the dim glow. "You will hear me whenever you listen." And with that, the grove begins to fade, its colors folding into mist. Morty feels the warmth of the stones beneath his feet, the soft hum of the universe settling around him like a lullaby. He closes his eyes and lets the quiet carry him forward. A hush like morning fog settles around Morty as the mist thins, revealing a meadow of silver grasses that sway without wind. Each blade shimmers faintly, releasing tiny motes of light when brushed by his passing. He walks slowly, notebook tucked beneath his arm, every step a soft chord in the meadow's quiet song. The air here is cooler, scented with pine and something sweeter, perhaps memory itself. He notices faint ripples in the silence, not sounds exactly, but gentle impressions that press against his thoughts.
At first they are distant, like the echo of a dream.
Then, as he lingers, they grow clear enough to feel. They are not words, yet they carry meaning. A joy that tastes of bright mornings,
a sorrow shaped like rain on stone.
He pauses, letting the sensations drift through him like slow-moving clouds. It dawns on him that the world is speaking, not with a voice, but with the patient language of feeling. The grasses whisper welcome. The distant hills hum of ages passing, of nights spent beneath countless moons. Morty closes his eyes and listens. A warm pulse rises through the ground and into his feet, steady and alive, like the heartbeat of something vast and kind. He tries to name what he hears, but the need for names falls away. Instead, he breathes with it. The rhythm folds into his own breath, into the slow beat of his heart. For a moment he feels transparent, as though every layer of him has softened. He senses a presence at the edge of the meadow, not a person, but a deep companionship, as if the entire place is leaning close in gentle recognition. A flicker of thought brushes him. The memory of his mother's laughter when he was very small, the way she used to hum while washing dishes late at night. Then another, Rick's gruff voice, softened in a rare moment of quiet, telling him once, almost by accident, that curiosity was the best kind of courage. These memories do not hurt. They arrive like soft rain, reminding him of the small, enduring truths that built his heart. The sky above drifts from silver to a quiet blue. Shapes of clouds gather and stretch like slow rivers. Within them Morty hears other echoes, a friend's gentle teasing, a childhood dog's wagging joy, the unspoken affection of moments long past.
None of it is loud.
It is the music of connection, patient and endless. He sits among the grasses, letting the whispers settle. The ground feels warm, alive, and he realizes the meadow is listening too. He places his palm flat against the earth. A low vibration answers, almost playful, as if the world itself is curious about him. Without thinking, he speaks aloud. "I can hear you." The words dissolve into the quiet, and the meadow replies with a single, steady pulse that travels up his arm and settles gently in his chest. Morty stays like that for a long while. Time seems to loosen, the sun neither rising nor setting, just breathing with him. He begins to notice the subtle individuality of every soundless voice, the brave hush of a stone buried deep, the tender sigh of a tiny flower opening. They are stories without pages, feelings without need of explanation. At some point he realizes this is his gift, not a power for adventure, not a weapon, but a listening. An empathy so wide it stretches beyond people, beyond words, into the quiet fabric of everything. He does not earn it. He simply allows it. The discovery brings no rush of triumph, only a gentle settling, like a blanket drawn over tired shoulders. When he finally rises, the grasses bend slightly as though bowing farewell. He whispers thanks without knowing if the meadow understands language at all. But a small wind stirs, carrying the faintest fragrance of rain and pine, and he feels an answering warmth. The silver path appears again, winding forward into a light that waits just beyond the horizon. Morty follows, each step a heartbeat, each breath a quiet promise to keep listening, no matter where the path may lead. The path bends gently, leading Morty toward a valley, bathed in soft lavender light. Hills rise like sleeping giants on either side, their slopes scattered with blooms that shimmer faintly, as if each petal holds a tiny piece of moonlight. The air carries a scent both sweet and earthy, wildflowers mingled with the memory of rain. He feels the quiet weight of distance behind him, the meadow's heartbeat fading to a low echo that still hums in his chest. As he walks, a new sound reaches him, delicate and musical, the soft pluck of strings, like a lullaby carried on the breeze. Morty slows, listening. The melody is gentle, patient, threaded with a sadness so calm it feels like comfort. He follows it through a stand of slender trees whose trunks glow faintly blue, until he reaches a clearing where a single figure sits upon a stone. She is about his age, maybe a little older, her hair a cascade of pale silver that catches the valley light. In her lap rests a small instrument shaped from crystal and wood. She plays with closed eyes, fingers moving in unhurried arcs, each note hanging in the air, long enough to be felt before fading. Morty stands at the edge of the clearing, not wanting to interrupt. The music seems to belong to the quiet itself. The girl finishes the song and opens her eyes, which are the color of deep twilight. She smiles when she sees him, a smile that carries no surprise, as if she expected this meeting all along. "You listen well?" she says softly. Morty steps closer, notebook held loosely at his side.
I guess I try to. She pats the stone beside her.
"Then sit. The world speaks clearer when someone listens." Her voice is gentle but certain, like a truth remembered rather than spoken. Morty sits, the stone cool beneath him. Up close, he notices faint constellations etched along the instrument's surface, glowing when her fingertips brush them. "I'm Morty," he says after a moment. "I know," she replies with a small tilt of her head. "The stars whispered of you before you arrived." She plucks another soft chord, the sound curling through the valley like smoke. He watches her play, the notes weaving through the fading light.
"Do you live here?" "I drift," she answers.
"I collect echoes, moments that worlds leave behind. They're like seeds. If you listen long enough, they bloom again." She gestures to the flowers around them, their petals glowing in rhythm with her song. Each one is a memory set free. Morty gazes at the blossoms, noticing how their light pulses in gentle patterns as if breathing.
"They're beautiful. They are everyone's," she says.
Every laugh, every quiet goodbye, every small kindness that might have been forgotten.
"I keep them until they find their way back to someone who needs them." A silence settles, soft and companionable.
Morty feels no urge to fill it. Instead, he lets the music and the quiet mingle, the sound sinking deep into him. He thinks of moments he wishes he could hold forever. A warm afternoon with his sister when they were small, the rare evenings when Rick would sit still long enough to share a story, the quiet nights counting stars. Each memory flickers through him like a gentle spark. The girl begins another melody, slower this time, a tune that seems to know his heart. Without warning, Morty feels a sudden ache, a longing for everything and everyone he has ever loved. It isn't painful, it's tender, a reminder of the connections that shape him. He glances at the girl and finds her watching him kindly, as though she understands without words. "Some echoes choose you," she says.
"Hold them gently."
"They are not meant to stay forever, only to remind." When the last note fades, the valley glows brighter for a heartbeat and then settles into deeper dusk. The girl sets her instrument aside and stands. "You have farther to walk," she tells him. "But this place will stay with you." Morty rises reluctantly. "Will I see you again?" Her smile deepens, tinged with something like sadness, perhaps in another echo. Before he can reply, a soft wind swirls through the clearing, lifting petals into the twilight. When they settle, she is gone, leaving only the faint resonance of her melody, a song that lingers in his chest like a heartbeat of light. Morty looks once more at the glowing flowers, then turns toward the path that waits, carrying the gentle music within him as he walks into the deepening night. The night deepens into a soft indigo as Morty follows the winding path beyond the valley of glowing flowers. A hush settles so complete it feels almost like the pause between heartbeats. The air is cool and faintly metallic, carrying the scent of rain that never quite falls. He keeps his notebook tucked close, though he has not written a word since he began this quiet journey. Words feel smaller than the spaces around him. The path narrows until it is no more than a thread of silver light across a vast plain of dark glass. Each step sends slow ripples outward, reflections bending like liquid. When Morty looks down, he sees not his own shadow, but countless versions of himself moving in quiet tandem. Children, teenagers, older men with lined faces and calm eyes, every possibility he has ever been. They walk beneath the mirrored surface, each one slightly different, their motions gentle and unhurried. Morty stops. The reflections stop with him, but a beat later some continue forward, their paths diverging like silent rivers. He watches, fascinated. One reflection carries a guitar slung across his back. Another wears a lab coat streaked with paint. Another stands perfectly still, eyes closed in peaceful meditation. They are all him, and yet they move as though guided by their own quiet intentions. He steps again, and more selves appear, infinite variations unfolding like stars across the dark glass.
None of them feel threatening.
They are simply there, living their quiet lives beneath the surface. He senses their thoughts as faint impressions, curiosity, regret, wonder, contentment. It is like listening to a choir of soft heartbeats. A low breeze stirs, carrying a sound that is almost a whisper. He cannot make out words, only a gentle murmur that seems to come from everywhere at once. The reflections pause as if listening too. Morty kneels and touches the glassy surface. It is cool but not wet, yielding slightly beneath his hand. The touch sends a ripple that moves outward in perfect circles, passing through every mirrored self. They ripple in response, offering small, understanding nods. One figure steps closer, a version of Morty with hair streaked silver, eyes steady and kind. This older self raises a hand in greeting. Morty feels no fear, only a quiet recognition, like meeting a memory of the future. The older reflection speaks without sound, lips forming words that reach Morty as a gentle thought. Every choice is a path.
None are lost. None are wasted. The words settle in him like warm rain.
He wants to ask questions about mistakes, about forgiveness, but he senses there is no need. The answer is already inside the silence. Other reflections drift nearer. One holds a paintbrush dripping with light. Another cradles a child wrapped in starlit cloth. Another walks with someone whose face Morty cannot see. Each carries a fragment of possibility, a reminder that his life is a constellation of choices, each glowing softly whether he remembers them or not. The breeze deepens, and the plain shimmers like a slow-moving sea. The older self lowers his hand and steps back. The others follow, their shapes fading into the mirrored depths until only Morty's own reflection remains. He gazes at it for a long time, noticing how calm his own eyes have become. When he finally rises, the path of silver light stretches forward again. The air feels lighter, as if some unspoken weight has lifted. He takes a breath and begins to walk, each step carrying the quiet assurance that every version of himself is part of a greater whole, none more real or more worthy than the next. Behind him, the glassy plain smooths itself, leaving no footprints, no trace of the meeting. But inside his chest, the echo remains, a chorus of selves, infinite and gentle, reminding him that he is never only one thing. The silver path brightens slightly, leading toward a distant glow. Morty follows without hurry, the silent blessing of his many reflections warm in his heart. A faint mist veils the horizon as Morty steps into a cavern of shifting light. The entrance seals behind him with a sound softer than a sigh, leaving only a vast chamber carved from luminous crystal. Each wall hums with a deep resonance, a tone felt more than heard, as if the entire place is breathing in slow rhythm. The air is cool and alive, carrying the subtle scent of ozone and rain-soaked stone. Morty moves carefully across the iridescent floor. Beneath his feet, veins of light pulse in time with his heartbeat, adjusting to his pace as though the chamber recognizes him. He senses an invitation, quiet but insistent, urging him deeper into the glow. Every step reveals reflections of the past, shards of memory suspended in the crystal walls. There is his first day of school, his awkward laughter at a joke no one else heard, the trembling moment when he almost confessed a secret. Each image drifts like a dream, neither accusing nor forgiving, simply present. He pauses before a scene of himself standing beside Rick at the edge of a storm-racked planet. Rick's face is unreadable, lit by flashes of distant lightning. Morty remembers the fear and the thrill of that day, the reckless trust he carried like a fragile flame. The memory fades, replaced by another, his own hands gripping the edge of a collapsing bridge, the roar of chaos below. He had survived, though he never fully understood why. A low vibration draws his attention to the center of the chamber, where a column of crystal rises like a frozen waterfall. Within it swirls a slow spiral of light, shifting from pale gold to deep violet. Morty approaches, feeling a warmth that is not heat, but recognition. He lays a hand on the column, and the crystal responds with a gentle hum that travels up his arm and into his chest. Suddenly the chamber darkens except for the spiral. Voices, soft, layered, endless, speak as one, not in words, but in feeling. He understands them without translation. You are the sum of every choice, the echo of every moment. What you fear to lose has already shaped you. What you seek is already within. The message settles over him like a cloak. He thinks of the countless reflections he met before, each version of himself walking a different road. He realizes none were lost. All are threads in a single tapestry, each necessary to the whole. The fear that once tightened around his heart begins to ease, replaced by a quiet acceptance. The crystal column brightens, casting ripples of light across the chamber. In their glow, Morty sees not just his own memories, but countless others, faces he knows and faces he will never meet, lives unfolding across galaxies and timelines. Every soul a story, every story a note in the same vast harmony. He senses their joys and sorrows, their triumphs and regrets, and feels himself woven into their music. The voices fade, leaving only the steady pulse of the crystal beneath his palm. He closes his eyes, breathing in the silence that follows. When he opens them again, the mist at the chamber's far end has parted to reveal a narrow passage lit by a soft, golden glow. Morty lowers his hand. The column dims but does not vanish, its spiral of light continuing in quiet rhythm. He understands now that it will always be there, a part of him, even when unseen. He turns toward the passage, his steps sure and unhurried. Behind him, the chamber remains serene, a sanctuary of memory and possibility. As he walks into the gentle light, he carries with him the truth that nothing is truly lost, that every path, every version of himself, sings in quiet resonance within the infinite crystal of existence. The passage opens into a quiet expanse of dusk-colored meadow, the sky above deepening into violet as distant stars flicker awake. Morty steps into the tall grass and feels the earth breathe beneath his feet, a slow and patient rhythm that steadies his own. Each blade shivers with a silver sheen, catching the fading light like scattered fragments of a forgotten dream. The air carries a warmth that tastes faintly of cedar and rain, as though the world itself has been waiting for him to arrive. He walks without hurry, letting the hush of evening settle across his shoulders. In the gentle dark, he begins to notice small lights hovering near the ground, tiny luminous seeds that drift upward, swirling in slow spirals before dissolving into the night. They remind him of the crystal chamber's quiet hum, of voices that spoke in feeling rather than sound. He wonders if these drifting lights are memories too, or perhaps the beginnings of new ones. A figure emerges on the far edge of the meadow, soft and almost transparent against the starlit horizon. As Morty draws closer, he recognizes the outline of a woman he once knew, though her face is blurred by time. It might be his mother, or a friend from a forgotten summer, or someone he never truly met. She waits with a patience that holds no expectation, her presence a calm invitation. When she finally speaks, her voice is like a breeze moving through reeds, gentle, unhurried.
"Carrying no demand, you've carried so much," she says.
Though the words feel more like a thought, shared between hearts than a sound. "You can set some of it down," Morty does not answer at first. He feels the weight of moments he never forgave himself for, words unsaid, promises broken, small cruelties born of fear. He remembers each as clearly as the stars above, but tonight they seem less sharp, softened by the quiet vastness around him. He takes a breath, and the meadow seems to breathe with him. The woman reaches out her hand. Morty steps closer until their fingers almost touch, a closeness that needs no completion. In that nearness he feels an understanding pass between them, a quiet acknowledgement that pain and love are threads of the same weave. Nothing more is required, no apologies, no explanations. The lights around them rise higher, as if stirred by their silent communion. She offers a faint smile and begins to fade, her form dissolving into the soft night air. Morty feels no panic, only a gentle ache that is somehow comforting, like the memory of a lullaby once sung to him in childhood. When she is gone, the meadow remains luminous, the stars brighter for her passing. He sinks into the grass and lies back, eyes tracing the slow wheel of constellations. The ground beneath is cool and steady, the sky infinite and kind. He thinks of all the worlds he has wandered, the countless versions of himself scattered across endless realities. For the first time, he senses how each of those selves is held in a single, quiet embrace, no longer separate, no longer lost. A breeze moves through the meadow, carrying a faint melody that might be distant laughter or the echo of a song he once knew. Morty closes his eyes and lets the sound drift through him. The night deepens, wrapping him in velvet shadow, and he feels a calm acceptance settle where the old restlessness once lived. Somewhere far off, a faint glow marks the path ahead, but there is no urgency to follow it. For now he belongs to the stillness, to the slow heartbeat of the earth, to the endless sky that waits without demand. He breathes in the quiet, and the quiet breathes back. A pale dawn unfurls across the horizon, soft as a held breath, painting the meadow in muted rose and silver. Morty rises slowly from the grass, the night's calm still humming in his chest. The air smells of dew and distant rain, each inhalation cool and grounding. He wipes the damp from his sleeves and feels a quiet readiness, as if the earth itself has whispered that it is time to move again. The faint glow he glimpsed in the night now reveals a winding path of stone, each step edged in faint blue luminescence. It leads toward a line of low hills where the sky is brightening, the first rays of sunlight spilling like liquid gold across their crests. He follows without haste, feet finding an easy rhythm. Every stone feels deliberate, placed not to hurry him, but to guide him with gentle certainty. As the path curves upward, he notices a small stream running alongside, its surface reflecting the growing light. The water murmurs in a language older than memory, each ripple a quiet reminder that time moves whether we notice or not. Morty crouches to touch the stream. The water is cool, alive, carrying echoes of distant mountains and forgotten rains. He cups a handful and lets it slip through his fingers, watching sunlight catch in each falling drop. Beyond the stream stands a solitary tree, tall and weathered, its bark streaked with silver veins that shimmer faintly in the dawn. Morty steps closer, sensing age and patience woven into its roots. Beneath its broad branches sits a figure wrapped in a cloak of soft grey. The stranger lifts their head as Morty approaches, eyes bright with the kind of warmth that feels like recognition. Though Morty is certain they have never met. "You've come far," the stranger says.
Voice steady and low like a note held in the heart of a song.
"Every step has been a choice, even the ones you never knew you made." Morty sits beside them, the grass cool beneath his palms. He feels no need for questions. The presence of this figure is answer enough. Together they watch the rising sun spill across the meadow, washing the world in gold. Silence stretches comfortably, carrying more meaning than words could hold. After a while, the stranger speaks again. Forgiveness isn't a single moment. It's a path you walk again and again. Some days you forget you're on it. Some days you begin anew. Morty feels the truth of this settle gently within him. He remembers the versions of himself he once feared, the memories he tried to lock away. Now they seem less like wounds and more like roots, deep, necessary, unashamed. He turns to the stranger and finds only kindness in their gaze, an understanding that requires nothing in return. The sun climbs higher, casting long shadows that slowly shrink as the light strengthens.
Birds stir in the branches overhead, their morning songs weaving into the hush.
Morty closes his eyes and listens, the sound a soft chorus that feels both foreign and familiar, like voices calling him home. When he opens his eyes, the stranger is gone. In their place rests a small stone, smooth and luminous, pulsing with a faint inner light. Morty picks it up and holds it to his chest. The warmth spreads through him, not as a burden, but as a quiet reminder of the journey behind him, of the endless becoming ahead. He rises and steps back onto the glowing path. The hills ahead shimmer beneath the full light of morning, inviting without demand. With each step he feels lighter, as though every breath carries a piece of the forgiveness he once thought impossible. The day unfolds around him, bright and tender, and the world seems to hum in gentle agreement. The morning stretches into a luminous haze as Morty follows the glowing path toward a valley veiled in soft mist. Each step feels quieter than the last, as though the world itself is encouraging a slower rhythm. The stone in his pocket, smooth and faintly warm, beats with a pulse that matches his own heartbeat, a steady reminder of all he has learned without needing to name it. The air carries the scent of pine and fresh rain, calming every restless thought. As the path curves downward, he hears a low, resonant hum, like a choir hidden beneath the earth. The sound guides him to a clearing where a small lake lies still as polished glass. Morning light scatters across its surface in shifting halos, reflecting a sky so pale it seems to drift between dream and waking. Morty kneels at the edge, the water mirroring his face and countless other faces layered like faint echoes, versions of himself from worlds he will never walk. They look back without accusation, their eyes filled only with quiet understanding. A breeze stirs the lake into gentle ripples. From the center, a circle of soft blue light rises, forming a shimmering figure that hovers just above the water. It is not Rick, nor any familiar companion, but something older and more expansive, shaped from light and memory. The figure speaks without sound, a feeling more than a voice. Every step has led you here, not to end, but to continue. What you forgive in yourself, you free in the worlds beyond. Morty feels the words settle like a gentle tide. He remembers nights spent awake with regrets, the weight of mistakes he thought would never fade. Now they drift through him like fallen leaves carried downstream. He dips his hands into the lake, and the water glows around his fingers. Threads of light curling up his arms, weaving through his chest like a slow heartbeat. The figure leans closer, its outlines shimmering with star-like sparks. You are not alone in the turning of time, it seems to say.
All that you love and all that you fear travel with you. Every kindness, every moment of courage, every small choice continues, even when unseen.
The message feels infinite, as if it will echo long after this moment has dissolved. Morty closes his eyes and lets the glow wash through him. Memories return, the quiet strength of his sister's laughter, the steady presence of his mother's embrace, the complicated brilliance of Rick's endless experiments. Each memory arrives without the sting of loss, only the warmth of having been. He breathes in, and the hum of the earth deepens until it feels like his own voice joining the chorus. When he opens his eyes, the figure has dissolved back into the lake, leaving only a faint ring of light on the water. The breeze carries a hush that feels like gratitude. Morty stands, water slipping from his hands like threads of silver, and senses that something within him has shifted. A gentle widening, a soft strength that needs no proof. The path continues along the far shore, bordered by tall reeds swaying in quiet unison. He steps forward, noticing how the stone in his pocket now glows faintly, as though sharing the light of the lake. Each footfall is unhurried, every breath in harmony with the vast silence. Above, the sky deepens to a clear blue, and a single bird arcs across it, its wings cutting a slow, deliberate path. Morty follows the trail until the lake is only a glimmer behind him. He does not look back. The memory lives within him now, bright and enduring. The valley ahead is wide and golden, opening into distance without end. The stone's pulse steadies to match his heart, and the quiet inside him feels boundless, like the first note of a song that never truly stops. The valley unfolds into a soft expanse of golden grass, each stalk swaying with a rhythm that seems to echo Morty's own breathing. The afternoon light bends low, warm and gentle, turning the horizon into a haze of honey and quiet flame. He walks without urgency, the stone in his pocket a calm heartbeat against his palm. Every sound, the hush of the wind, the distant rustle of unseen creatures, feels like part of a single, patient song. He follows a narrow trail that threads through the tall grass, noticing how the earth beneath is firm yet forgiving. With each step, he senses the weight of earlier journeys falling away, like dust shaken from a well-worn coat. The memories that once clenched tight inside him now drift lightly, no longer demands but simple truths. He recalls the crystal chamber, the meadow, the luminous lake, each a soft chapter of a story still unfolding. Ahead, a small rise breaks the sweep of the valley. At its crest stands a wooden arch, weathered smooth by time and wind. Delicate vines climb its sides, blooming with pale flowers that release a faint, sweet scent. Morty pauses beneath it, fingertips grazing the worn wood. The arch feels like a threshold, though it carries no sense of finality, only quiet invitation. Beyond the arch lies a circle of stones arranged around a low fire pit. The embers glow even. Without flame, a steady warmth that reaches him before he steps closer. 3 figures sit in silence around the pit, their faces soft with the kind of recognition that transcends names. Morty knows them somehow, though he cannot say from where, perhaps echoes of friends, or the unspoken parts of himself he once ignored. One figure, cloaked in twilight blue, gestures for him to join them. Morty lowers himself to the ground, the grass cool beneath his legs, the air fragrant with cedar smoke.
No words are exchanged.
Instead, a quiet understanding passes through the circle, a sense that each of them has walked long roads, carrying burdens that need no explanation. The embers pulse faintly, casting ripples of light across their faces. Within that glow, Morty feels the presence of those he has loved and those he has lost. He remembers small acts of kindness, hands held, laughter shared, forgiveness given in silence. These memories arrive not as sharp pangs, but as warm currents, flowing through him like a slow river at dusk. The figure in twilight finally speaks, voice low and even, like the earth itself breathing. "Everything you have been is here," they say.
Every choice, every moment, every version of you.
Nothing is wasted. Nothing is gone. Morty closes his eyes and lets the words settle. He thinks of the countless reflections he has met, the moments of doubt, the quiet courage that carried him through. For the first time, he feels no need to question what comes next. The circle of stones, the quiet companions, the soft light of the embers, all of it feels complete in itself. A breeze stirs, carrying a scattering of tiny sparks into the dusk. They drift upward, joining the first stars appearing overhead. The figures beside him rise without sound, their movements as gentle as falling leaves. One by one they step into the tall grass and fade into the deepening twilight, leaving Morty alone with the glowing embers. He stays seated, watching the sparks dance into the night. The stone in his pocket warms, pulsing in time with the fire's quiet beat. Above, the sky darkens into velvet blue, the stars sharp and endless. He feels himself expand with the night, his heartbeat slow and steady, as if the universe itself has drawn him into its calm embrace. When the last ember dims, Morty stands and looks beyond the arch. A faint path glimmers under the starlight, winding toward a horizon that shimmers like a promise. He steps forward, carrying with him the warmth of the circle, the memory of silent companions, and a peace that feels both ancient and entirely new. Night settles like a velvet tide as Morty follows the faint, starlit path beyond the arch. The air is cool and gentle, carrying the hush of distant crickets and the soft scent of cedar smoke left behind. Each step is quiet, unhurried, as if the earth itself wishes for silence. The stone in his pocket glows faintly, a steady heartbeat against his palm, guiding him forward without words. Above, the sky stretches wide and endless, the stars bright enough to feel near, as though they lean closer to listen. The path leads him to a wide plateau where the land falls away into shadowed valleys. Moonlight spills across the cliffs, silvering every edge and hollow. Morty pauses at the brink, gazing at the countless lights that flicker below, tiny fires, distant villages, maybe even other travelers like himself. The sight is vast but not lonely. It feels like standing within the breath of the universe, the quiet pulse of existence carrying him along. He sits on a smooth stone and lets the night surround him. Memories drift in like gentle tides, the crystal chamber's soft hum, the meadow's whispering grass, the quiet faces around the ember circle.
None demand attention, none bring pain.
They simply arrive and settle, forming a mosaic of every path he has walked. For the first time he senses the whole of it, each choice and mistake, each kindness and sorrow, woven together as one continuous thread. A soft glow rises from the plateau's center. Morty turns to find a small pool of water, perfectly still, reflecting the moon with flawless clarity. He approaches and kneels, his reflection shimmering beside the silver disk of the sky. But as he gazes, the image changes. He sees himself at different ages, each face calm, each pair of eyes carrying the same quiet recognition. They do not speak, yet he understands. The journey was never about becoming someone else. It was about remembering what he already is. The pool brightens until it seems lit from within, and a quiet vibration hums through the ground. It feels like a gentle welcome, a lullaby older than language. Morty dips his fingers into the water and feels warmth instead of cold, a soothing current that flows up his arms and into his chest. It is not a surge, but a soft unfolding, as though every part of him is being quietly accepted exactly as it has always been. Above, a shooting star arcs across the sky, its trail a brief silver flame. Morty watches it fade and feels no urgency to wish. The night itself seems to have already granted what he needed, the easing of regret, the steady glow of belonging. He closes his eyes and listens to the silence, until it feels alive, a presence that holds him like gentle hands. When he opens his eyes, the pool has returned to ordinary moonlight, still and deep. He stands, carrying the quiet warmth inside him, and looks toward the horizon where the path continues. A soft breeze lifts the edges of his jacket, carrying a scent of rain and distant pine. He knows he will follow the trail when it is time, but there is no rush. This moment, this vast night, is enough. He lingers at the cliff's edge, watching the stars wheel slowly overhead. Their light is patient, unending, a reminder that everything moves and yet remains. The stone in his pocket pulses once, gently, as if echoing his own slow heartbeat. Morty smiles, the expression small but certain.
And whispers a thank you to the night, to the journey.
To every quiet presence that walked beside him unseen. The wind answers with a soft sigh through the grass. Neither promise nor farewell, only the simple truth of now. Morty breathes it in, feeling the world settle into perfect stillness around him. In that stillness he senses an infinite kindness, a boundless peace that needs no name. Dawn arrives without haste, a slow wash of silver and rose that softens every edge of the plateau. Morty stands where the night left him, the stone in his pocket warm against his palm, its pulse matching the steady rhythm of his heart. The horizon glows with a quiet promise, light spilling like a whispered secret across the distant hills. The world feels both infinite and close, as if every breath draws the sky a little nearer. He begins to walk, the starlit path now a ribbon of pale gold beneath the waking sun. Each step carries the hush of everything he has learned, moments gathered like small, luminous beads on an endless string. The memories no longer weigh on him. They drift like gentle clouds, shaping the morning with soft color. He recalls the crystal's hum, the meadow's silver grass, the lake's glowing figure, each a part of him now, inseparable and calm. The trail leads to a quiet grove, where ancient trees reach high into the brightening sky. Their leaves shimmer with dew, scattering light in delicate prisms. In the center stands a low stone bench worn smooth by time and countless resting travelers. Morty sits and closes his eyes, feeling the sun's warmth settle across his shoulders. The grove carries a silence that is not empty, but alive, filled with the slow breath of the earth. A soft presence gathers beside him. When he opens his eyes, Rick is there, not the frantic genius of late nights and reckless adventures, but a gentler echo. His coat is a little frayed, his eyes carrying the same brilliant mischief softened now into something like peace. He says nothing at first. Instead, he offers a faint smile, the kind that hides both apology and affection. Morty exhales, the tension of old arguments and unspoken fears melting into the quiet air.
I thought I'd lost you, he whispers, though the words feel more like a thought than a sound. Rick tilts his head, the corner of his mouth lifting.
You never lose what you carry inside, he replies, voice low and sure. Even the worst of me was always a part of you.
And the best of you
was always a part of me. They sit together in the dappled light, no need for explanations or the sharp edges of old wounds. The trees sway softly overhead, their leaves creating a lullaby of rustling sound. Morty feels the years between them dissolve, leaving only the quiet truth of connection, a bond that no distance, no universe can erase. After a long silence, Rick places a hand on Morty's shoulder, warm and steady. Keep going, he says. The road doesn't end. Not for you, not for anyone who keeps their heart open. Morty nods, the words settling like a final gift. When he glances back, Rick's figure is already fading into the shifting light, becoming one with the shimmering grove. There is no ache of loss this time, only a deep, steady gratitude. The sun climbs higher, bathing the world in gold. Morty stands and takes one last look at the bench where they sat. The stone glows faintly as if holding the memory, then returns to simple stillness. He steps back onto the path, the ground warm beneath his feet, the air carrying the scent of new blossoms. Beyond the grove, the trail widens into an open field of gentle hills. Birds lift into the morning, their wings catching the sunlight in bright arcs. Morty walks on, each movement easy, unforced. He feels the quiet rhythm of life inside and around him, a harmony that needs no words. As the light deepens, he senses the journey stretching far beyond sight. There is no final destination, only the endless unfolding of moments, each one complete, each one enough. The stone in his pocket gives a soft, last pulse of warmth, then rests as if acknowledging that it has fulfilled its purpose. Morty smiles, a small, peaceful curve of understanding. He lifts his eyes to the sky where clouds drift like slow music and whispers a simple farewell not to Rick or the path, but to the idea that anything is ever truly lost. The wind carries his breath into the widening day, and the world answers with quiet, endless light. The afternoon light softens to a gentle amber as Morty walks across a field that seems to stretch beyond memory. The grass moves in slow waves beneath a breeze that smells faintly of rain and distant pine. Each step is unhurried, every breath a quiet conversation with the earth. The stone in his pocket lies still now, no longer pulsing, its warmth settled into his own heartbeat as if it has become part of him. Above, the sky carries drifting clouds the color of faded linen, their shapes changing with the patient grace of time itself. He follows a winding trail that curves toward a low ridge. Along the path, wildflowers lean toward the waning sun, their petals trembling in the gentle wind. Morty notices the subtle variations in color, soft blues, pale golds, muted violets, as though the world is painting its final portrait of the day. He feels a calm recognition in every detail, a quiet understanding that nothing here asks for more than simple presence. At the top of the ridge he finds a lone oak, broad and ancient, its branches reaching toward the sky like a slow, eternal gesture. Beneath it sits an old wooden swing, the ropes weathered but strong, swaying slightly though no one else is near. Morty approaches and rests a hand on the worn seat. The wood is smooth and warm, carrying the memory of countless summers and quiet evenings. He lowers himself gently, letting the swing rock with the rhythm of the breeze. As the swing moves, Morty's thoughts drift to those he loves, his sister's quiet resilience, his mother's patient smile, Rick's chaotic brilliance that somehow held a thread of care. Each memory arrives like a soft chord in a long, unending song. They are not ghosts, not regrets, but living pieces of him, woven into the present moment with effortless grace. He closes his eyes and listens to the creak of the ropes, the whisper of leaves overhead, the slow heartbeat of the earth beneath. The sun dips lower, painting the world in layers of orange and rose. Shadows lengthen, but there is no sense of loss in the fading light. Instead, Morty feels an expanding peace, as though the day itself is exhaling. He remembers the crystal chamber's hum, the silver meadow, the quiet lake, the grove where Rick's echo smiled. Each place lingers in him like a constellation, their lights steady even as the sky darkens. A soft sound draws his attention, a melody carried on the breeze, delicate as a lullaby. He cannot tell if it is a distant song or simply the Earth's own music. The notes rise and fall, weaving through the rustling leaves until it feels as though the entire world is singing. Morty lets the swing slow, absorbing the melody until it settles deep inside him. A gentle echo that will never fade. As twilight gathers, the first stars emerge, small sparks in the deepening blue. Morty tilts his head back to watch them, their light patient and ancient. He thinks of all the versions of himself scattered across infinite worlds, each one a quiet point of light, each one part of the same vast sky. The thought brings neither sorrow nor confusion, only a profound sense of belonging. The air grows cooler, carrying the scent of night-blooming flowers. Morty rises from the swing and places a hand on the oak's sturdy trunk, feeling the slow pulse of life within. "Thank you," he whispers, though he isn't sure if the words are meant for the tree, the earth, or the journey itself.
Perhaps for all of it.
Perhaps for everything. With the stars bright above, he steps away from the tree and begins the gentle walk down the ridge. The path ahead glows faintly in the starlight, leading toward a horizon wrapped in quiet silver. He feels no urgency, only the soft invitation of endless distance. Each footfall blends into the night's rhythm, and he senses the world moving with him. Steady and kind, as he walks, the melody returns one last time, a barely audible hum that seems to rise from within his own chest. It is not a song of endings, but of continuation, a reminder that every step is part of something vast and eternal. Morty smiles into the dark, the swing and the oak fading behind him, and carries the gentle music forward into the night. The night had deepened to a velvet hush when Morty reached the edge of the crystalline valley. Moonlight poured across the silent expanse, each shard of stone catching the pale glow like frozen music. He paused at the threshold, breathing in the stillness. The air held a faint shimmer, a quiet resonance that seemed to wait for his decision. Behind him lay every path he had crossed, the lake of mirrored stars, the grove where echoes spoke, the oak that swayed with memory. Ahead stretched a final passage, narrow and luminous, as though the world itself had drawn a single, deliberate line. He stepped forward. The ground beneath him rang with a soft chime, each footfall a note in a melody older than time. The valley curved gently upward, the crystals growing taller, their facets reflecting endless constellations. Morty felt no fear, only a slow, expansive calm. Each breath carried the scent of distant rain, and something unnameable, an essence beyond worlds. He touched one of the taller spires, and a pulse of light traveled through the crystal and into his hand. Warm and welcoming, as he moved deeper, the path narrowed until the crystals formed an arch of radiant glass. Within the arch floated a sphere of pure luminescence, neither solid nor vapor, its surface rippling with colors that defied memory. Morty stood before it, sensing a quiet invitation. He thought of Rick then, not the wild genius or the careless wanderer, but the quiet presence he had found in hidden moments. He heard again the faint chuckle, the rare words of care disguised in sarcasm, the fragile trust between them that had somehow survived every storm. Morty placed his palm toward the sphere. Light met skin like water warmed by sunlight. 1,000 sensations bloomed at once, the laughter of his sister on a summer afternoon, the smell of his mother's cooking, the hum of the universe's endless heartbeat. Each memory threaded into another until they became a single tapestry, vast and gentle. He felt himself expand, not dissolving but becoming more, each choice, each love, each loss a star within the same boundless sky. A voice rose from the light, soft as a breath. It was not Rick's voice, nor his own, but something shared between them, a presence shaped by every journey. You are not alone. You have never been alone. The words were not spoken, yet they resonated through bone and thought alike. Morty's eyes filled with a quiet warmth, not tears, but recognition. He stepped closer until the sphere surrounded him like dawn breaking. Time lost its edges. He saw infinite Mortys across infinite worlds. Some laughing, some grieving, some walking the same valley in different skies. They were all him, and yet each was free. He reached toward them and they reached back, not to hold, but to honor. In that instant, he understood that every version was a note in the same eternal song. The sphere pulsed once, and Morty felt a gentle release, as if the universe exhaled. The light folded inward, carrying his heartbeat, his memories, his quiet acceptance. When the brilliance softened, he stood again beneath the open stars. The valley lay silent, the crystals now dim but serene, their music resting in the night. Morty turned toward the path leading out of the valley. Behind him, the sphere's glow faded into a faint shimmer, a final promise lingering in the air. He did not look back again. The journey was not an ending nor a beginning. It was the continuation of every choice, every step, every breath. The stars above burned steady and endless. Morty walked beneath them, his shadow blending with the silver earth. The song of the universe traveled with him, quiet and eternal, as he moved forward into the waiting night.